Hey everybody, Brian and Leslie Fatherees are here. We're talking to you. We're on the month of February, the month of February, and we are talking about love, L-U-V, love. 'Cause
Everybody needs love.
that's a song, I think, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
All we need is love.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're having fun with this because love should be fun, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about that. We talked in the last podcast about the five love languages and how to apply them to your children. We're going to take the same topic on this podcast, but talk about how to interact with each other as husband and wife, knowing the five love languages and how they operate. I'm just going to tell you what they are really quick. We're not going to go in depth on what each one, like we did. We're not going to define them, but we are going to talk about how they relate to you as husband and wife. So there's the touch love language, there's the time, there's words of affirmation, there's acts of service, and there are gifts love language. So those are the five love languages that Dr.
Gary
Chapman. I had a different doctor in my head. That Dr. Chapman laid out for us to understand, and how they do that. So we want to talk about how to interact as husband and wife with the different love languages. Now, here's the thing: we can only really tell you because we don't. All five are not our love language as a couple. But we express all five as a couple. But we each have one or two that are our main ones, and so we'll talk about our experience once we read this book and like, oh, that's how we didn't know. I mean, we kind of knew, but it laid it out in terms of, you ever hear somebody talk and they say stuff that you already knew, but they put it in such a way you're like, that's what I was thinking. That's what I needed to know.
Yep.
That's how that book was for us with love languages. Right. And so we want to just touch base on how to interact back and forth with the love languages as husband and wife.
I think that okay, so we'll start with my love language. My main love language is acts of service.
Yes, it is.
I'm a doer, and so if I can do something to show you love, that's how I'm gonna gravitate to first. But after that, words of affirmation mean a lot to me. Brian spent a lot of our early marriage. He would bring me cards with words. And words speak to me and they touch me and make me feel loved. And so, that was a great thing for him to do because it's kind of my secondary is words of affirmation. I also like time, but words of affirmation really kind of do it for me. Gifts are nice. I always accept gifts, but I receive them as an act of service. I receive them as an act of service to me.
True.
You're doing me something when you're bringing me a gift. So
that's funny.
And then touch. I'm not opposed to hugging and kissing and rubbing.
Thank the Lord above.
Because his main love language is touch. He is a touch guy. And
you can go back and talk about yourself, but we'll get back to that.
We've had to learn, though, what our main things are, what really speaks love to us the most, and then focus in those areas towards each other. So I know that he is a touch person, first and foremost, and that means that he needs me to hold his hand. He needs me to, when we're watching TV, I'm doing this. I'm stroking down on his arm. I'm rubbing on his back.
And I'm Thumper.
And he is. He's Thumper. And that's what's, it makes him happy. So, but I know that. So I know to love him in his language, I need to do those things to make him feel like he is loved. He needs attention that way to feel loved. Now, like he said in our last podcast, he is also a quality time and words of affirmation guy. He's a little bit of both. He really, if we haven't had time together in a couple weeks, that's not with kids around and we're out on our own, if we haven't gone anywhere and done anything time-wise, he's like, okay, we need a trip out because, I haven't had any time with you. Yeah. And so, honestly, there have been times in our marriage when just getting to go do the groceries with me was time away, and he was happy about that. It's really sad, but that's time. It's time to get to go out and do something with your spouse, and that fulfilled part of his love language.
Yeah, and early in our marriage, my wife wife says she's a doer, and she's underestimating herself. She is she's quite the doer. When we were married, I'll give you a little background. This really isn't love languages, but it feeds into it. She had like every 15, 30 minutes, hours scheduled out every day. She had a massive scheduled out. So she knew exactly where her day was going to do, where she was going to be, what she was going to do, all that scheduled on paper.
Organized.
Which is great, right? It's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. I am just the opposite. I had zero schedule.
You were the opposite, yes.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so she said I were. So I've gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no schedule.
Right.
Which actually worked to my disadvantage. I was a youth pastor at the time and working a full-time job.
Yeah.
But I would make promises to people that, can you come help us? Can you come help us? Can you come? And I'd tell 10 people, sure, without looking at my schedule.
Yeah.
And then 8 of the 10 were at the exact same time. Guess what? I can't be at 8 places at one time. Yeah. Cool superpower if you could have it, but I didn't have that superpower. Yeah. And so I just couldn't do that. So early in our marriage, she began to teach me how to schedule out my life and learn how to say no sometimes to people.
And check the schedule before you commit. Just saying.
That's the thing. I still have to work at that, but check. It's easier now with the calendar on your phone and whatnot. Yeah. I go, no, can't do that because that's my wife's birthday. I'll be dead. But anyway, and I did that. I had committed to a thing on her birthday when we first got married. Whole other story. We'll take it at another topic. It'll be great. Yes. So anyway, she's teaching me how to schedule, but I was trying to teach her how to be flexible.
Right.
So I would literally, because I needed her time. I would be asking for her time. She said, well, I'm doing this, and then I got to go this, and this, and I got to do that. I'm like, where do I fit in? Right? And so we were adjusting to one another. Yeah. I wasn't mad at her or anything. It's just like, where do I fit in? I mean, I'm a time guy. Mm-hmm. And so I would literally show up and say, come on. She's like, what? Just get in the car. Where are we going? I said, I'll tell you when we get there. Just get in the car.
Which just about drove me crazy because I needed to know, where I was going and where, what we were going to do and how long were we going to be doing that. And it messed me up.
It's like, no, I'm kidnapping you. You're going with me. And we would just go for a drive. And we would go for a drive through the country or wherever. I always had a place that I end up at. Either a house to look at that we really liked looking at houses, or maybe we would go get a sandwich somewhere or go get some ice cream. Yeah. There was always a destination, but I wanted her to enjoy the journey to the destination, which initially she did not enjoy the journey to the destination. She's like, are we even there yet? And I'm like, man, I don't even have kids yet. And are we there yet? So
no, I had to really work at relaxing and enjoying the journey, which then eventually moved into our kids had to learn the enjoy the journey lesson also.
Now, how's that fit with love languages? Well, part of my love language is time. So she was actually having to completely adjust how she gave love to me by giving me her time. Because
I was doing things for him.
Right. And I really believe it worked because she began to look at it as an act of service. To me. Yeah. Did I call that right?
Yeah.
So that was part of her act of service, which was my time.
Yeah.
So you can combine the love languages to work together when they seem like they don't fit at all.
Right. The same thing with, I love a good shoulder rub, and so does he, likes back, but when he gives it to me, it's because he's speaking touch to me.
Right.
And doing it as an act of service, then he learned. And when I'm doing it towards him, I'm speaking act of service to him, but also touching is his language. So it's like dual purpose.
Yeah.
When we do that.
More?
So gifts are something that in our marriage we have tried to choose. We try to choose gifts that are meaningful,
and
purposeful, and thoughtful. Yeah, because we have such attention to time and affirmation, words of affirmation. We're very thoughtful about how we give gifts, and a lot of times our gift is a time oriented kind of gift.
Sure.
So, like, we're going to have a, we're going to go have dinner. That's time together. It's a gift that's what we get to do, but it's also time, and
Right.
so it's purposeful. And or if we're going to go somewhere on maybe a weekend or something, we think about what the other enjoys, what they like before we plan something. We're not just going willy nilly wherever.
Right.
We have purposeful things, and the gift is being given. It's time that we're using, and we want it to be personal to us. That's kind of the affirmation part, is really the being personal to who we are.
Yeah, it is, and it's really kind of fun. Let's just look at the time thing for a minute. I grew up. My grandparents on my mom's side did antiquing.
Yeah.
And my grandparents had a ongoing garage sale that never stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Just they had this garage filled with stuff, cut glass. There was junk in there, but a lot of really cool stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up going with my grandfather to auctions, estate sales, other garage sales,
mm-hmm.
and finding treasures.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I like doing that. Well, come to find out, she likes old stuff. She likes antiques, and she
mm-hmm.
likes those things. So one of the things that we do with our time is we go antiquing.
Yeah.
We may not even buy anything.
No.
But we go looking.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in that process, I discover some things that she likes, because she gravitates to certain things
right.
every time we go out.
Right.
I'm not complaining. It's just there's certain things that I know. So we're looking, and I'll see something that I know is in her sphere of, this is what I want to look at. This is what I
mm-hmm.
want. And I'm like, hey, did you see that one over there? Did you see this one over there? Yeah. And one of those things are Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
The ceramic Crocs.
Not the Crocs for your shoes.
No,
for your
no,
feet.
no.
No, ceramic Crocs.
Ceramic Crocs, not
Crocks.
not. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm gonna behave. Anyway, so I'm not getting her plastic shoes.
No.
I'm getting
mm-hmm.
her. So the last several years, for birthdays, Christmas,
mm-hmm.
just randomly because I want to,
mm-hmm.
Or we'll go out someplace, and we're going to go out to dinner, but we'll go out to an antique shop before or after, and just walk around. Maybe we'll go eat and walk dinner off through several antique shops, and we're doing that, and then we'll find it. They're not always large; they could be small.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a little pitcher or a little bowl, or they could be larger, and so we'll do that, and so I'll buy her. Maybe she's like, well, I want to get that one. Okay, well, what about that one? Well, I only have money for this. Well, I'll pitch in and get the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's speaking gifts to her, but it's also an act of service, because
mm-hmm.
I'm giving her things that she loves.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple pretty good size Crocs that I actually we live currently in Central Illinois, and there's a town south of us about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's Amish country.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a store down there, an antique store, and they have some of the best Crocs in the world. That guy has stuff all the time. So for Christmas 2 years ago, I think it was, me and my oldest son, we snuck off one day. So, well, we're just going to go hang out with each other, which it actually served two purposes, because he got time with me, I got time with him, because he's a time guy. And we drove down to this little town and bought two really big Crocs for. The fun part was hiding them until Christmas. Yeah. That was hard, because they're not small. And we have a small space in our life. So, but we did. We hit them. We didn't break them. It was great. Love, love was good, because we did all that. And then, so we spoke act of service by going to get them. We spoke time with each other, my son and I, and we spoke gifts to my wife. Mm-hmm. So all in the same time. So they're not necessarily, hey, come touch my head now. Come touch my hand now.
Right.
Well, touch and time are together. Words of affirmation could go with time. I mean,
right.
It's how you do it. It's how you interrelate with your spouse mm-hmm. in those gifts, and how to express those things. So we want to help.
Being creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being creative with how you express them, knowing what they are for your spouse and what yours are, and then kind of mixing them is the trick.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, so I'm not sure where we want to go next, but
This is going to be a short podcast.
maybe not. You never know. We always have things to say. So, um, uh, love languages are really important in your marriage because when the love tank gets low, things start going awry.
Yeah.
If I don't keep his love tank filled and he doesn't keep my love tank filled, then we are actually
It creates friction.
It creates friction, yeah, and it pulls us apart. So we purposefully fuel the other's love tank because we want to keep that closeness and we want to keep the togetherness happening, and so there's a point where you have to be able to see, okay, are they losing love in their tank? Am I keeping it filled? And if it's not being filled, then I know I have to adjust. If he's seeing me and thinking, okay, something's off about her, I think that I'm not doing enough of, whatever I might need in my love tank. He has to be able to see that. I have to be able to see that in him and know that the remedy for that is filling the love tank.
Yeah.
When our love tanks are full, then we're able to operate and interact with each other in much better ways, and it keeps the friction down, and it keeps arguments and snappiness and bad attitudes and all that at bay, because we are feeling that sense of I am loved, and that love is creates buoyancy for your relationship. It keeps you floating. Yeah.
That's good. And we have content on our YouTube channel. One of the actually several. We talk about guarding your marriage or protecting your marriage. One of the things you can do to protect or guard your marriage is love languages.
Right.
It's based out of Ephesians 5, where it says, "Husbands, love your wives, and wives, give honor, respect, and love your husband." It's two different ways of loving each other that God understands, because He put man and woman together, and He built us. He knows what He's doing. He knows everything inward and outward. So it's an Ephesians 5 model that we try to do, and so the love that we're giving is actually a protection to keep us faithful, to keep us loyal, to keep us intact and connected. Because love languages aren't just about, hey baby, I got you the rose, I got you the crock, we're going to go out to eat. Those are all good. And they're expressions of whatever love that you're giving. Yay, I want to give I watched this video the other day. It was Steve Harvey, and his wife came on his talk show, not the Family Feud stuff, but the talk show. And he looked over at her, and he was like, "Ooh, it's my wife." He was obviously madly in love with his wife, and he's like, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" And she's all embarrassed, and he's like, "Well, it's your birthday, and I needed help on deciding what to do." And he's like, "Well, I don't know sure what to give you." And he's staring up. He goes, "Well, that dress for one, you can just give that to me." And he's flirting with her really hard with a live audience, which is hilarious. She's like, "Well, maybe, we'll see." And she's like, "Behind you are three, they're like video places." It's like, number one, dinner for two, just me and you. Number two, a private massage at home, me and you. Number three, an outing with me and the children. And Harvey's hilarious. Says, "Heck no, that is gone. that ain't happening." Because you knew that when you put that up there. And he looked at her and goes, "Huh." So he's like, explain what he likes from her. He likes her time. He also likes touch, obviously, because he's like, number two, I want to take a massage at home. So she's explaining that, but she was protecting their marriage. She was giving him what he needs.
Right.
In speaking his love language, it happened to be his birthday, but she was speaking his love language to him, and she already knew what it was. She knew it was time, because all three elements had time in them. One had the touch, so the time and touch is really what spoke to him. Right. So we're protecting our marriage by loving each other in ways that we're expressing to each other, and we're guarding ourselves from outside influence and outside problems.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scripture in that I share all the time. I share it in our family, and I'm paraphrasing. The quote may not be exact, but it says, "Where strife is, every evil work is there."
Yeah.
When you don't have your love tank full,
Mm-hmm.
when you don't love each other and give each other
Mm-hmm.
the love that you need,
Yeah.
strife will come in, and strife is the most subtle, sneakiest devil in the world.
Right.
And he's powerful because it says wherever he's at, every evil work is at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you ever been in that moment where it makes no sense? All of a sudden you're just fighting, you're arguing, things aren't going right. Fast forward to most Christians on Sunday morning trying to get to church.
Yeah.
Where's my shoes? Where's my hat? Get your shoes on. All of that comes in. That's strife, and you have to stop it.
Right.
And love language is being fulfilled and filled to the top of the tank. Help prevent that.
Yeah.
We want to eliminate it.
No. You still have to use your patience. You still have to be
but,
thoughtful and all those things.
But it will go a long way
Yeah.
to protecting not only you as husband and wife, but you as a family. But today's really about you as husband and wife.
Right.
So we want to just encourage you, figure out, take the quiz, get the book, read it, check it out. We're not making any money off that. Just check it out, see what it is. Even if one of you doesn't want to do it, the one that wants to do it.
Yeah.
Find out, and in the quiz you'll probably figure out what your spouse is and wants and needs, and then start doing it.
Right.
Start loving them in that way. Maybe that's the reason they don't want to do it, because they don't have a love tank at the moment that's not filled. And it's really on me to fill her tank. It's not on her. It's on her to fill my tank. It's not on me. Now, I can suggest some things like she was talking about earlier in the video here about how it's just times that I just need time. I'll come in like, what are you up to? What's on your schedule? What are you doing? Why? We need to escape. I need some of your time. I just need to get you out of here. And we may not go do anything special. We just go drive for 20, 30 minutes and just have a conversation. I just need to get out of the house. I need to get out of the four walls, but I need to get out of the four walls with you. Yeah. And so I'll do that. Look like you had something to say.
I was just gonna say too that it's little things too.
Yeah.
In the middle of all the big stuff that matter. So like, I will definitely try to speak. Well, we both try to speak touch to one another in the sense of we hold hands a lot. We make sure that we kiss each other before we leave and when we come back.
Say I love you.
And in between, but
but always an I love you. It's a word of affirmation.
Yeah, but we don't go through the day without doing something that's loving towards one another, because we're trying to keep those tanks full. And love seeps out of us so fast in the world that we live in. It's such a hard place to live in right now. And so keeping love tanks full is just kind of something that you do on a regular basis. I stop throughout the day and take time to talk with Brian because that hits time and words. So we talk, and I encourage him in the things that he's trying to do, the things that he's trying to get done, because we work from home. So he's here, and I'm able to speak to him. A lot of times when wives want to encourage their husbands during the day and they're working outside of the home, then they might send notes in their lunchbox. And I know that sounds corny, but honestly, if somebody's language is words of affirmation and they receive words at an unexpected time, that's going to really do something for them. It's something little. It's something easy. Speaking love languages doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
They could text them.
Yeah, you could text or just send a little GIF to them, and just to encourage them, or say, "Hey, I'm thinking of you. I haven't forgotten you today." It builds them up. If acts of service is something that's important to your spouse, then prepare something, do something for them, even if it's small. Sometimes an act of service is simply, making them a batch of cookies, or sometimes it's just picking up all the clutter around and just straightening up. And sometimes that just makes people feel better because it's not as disorganized, and there's no clutter laying around where they're going to feel stressed. So just relieving stress is a way to fuel a love tank, especially if acts of service is a thing for them.
Right.
If it's their language. So just little things. A lot of times through the years we have brought gifts to each other, but they've just been something small that, it kind of stuck out to us and went, oh, he'll think that's funny, or she might enjoy that because it's just a little thing, but it was important because it was love being spoken in the form of a gift.
And they really appreciate it, husband and wife. We appreciate it because we were being thought of.
Yeah.
Not just while we're sitting together.
Yeah.
Being thought of while we were apart in that moment.
Yep.
And so, you need to learn each of these languages for yourself, and you need to learn how to express them to your spouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes speaking the other language isn't real easy.
Right.
You do have to actually apply yourself to speak someone else's language sometimes. You have to actually sit and think about, okay, how would I do that? Or read Dr. Chapman's book and see if there's ideas in it that spark something for you, for your spouse. We have friends and know people who do not have the same love languages that we do, and the way we operate is like foreign to them, and
right.
they don't understand that at all, but they have their own ways of interacting with each other. So it doesn't matter what your love language is, I guess is what I'm saying. It's just speak it, and speak your spouse's, and learn to mix them together, and it's going to be a benefit to your marriage if you will do that. It'll be a benefit to your family if you do that.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking as you're talking, not only benefit to your marriage and your family, but a benefit to your workplace, benefit to your business, benefit to the interactions that you do socially. I've become a better pastor because of learning this and employing in my life with my wife, because that makes me more aware. Because I'm not an acts of service person, but when I see someone who is, then I know that if I do something for them as an act of service, man, I make bonus points left and right. And I'm not trying to manipulate, I'm just trying to relate.
Yes.
And so you don't want to manipulate people with this,
No.
but you want to relate to them. And so I've done that. I'm thinking right now of a couple of the last church that we served at, and they were very much acts of service people.
Right.
And then I did something for them. And I became the wife's best friend after I did something for them. She just thought I was the next best thing since sliced bread. And all I did was one simple little thing. And
but that one thing spoke love to her.
In volume.
Even if she didn't identify it as such, it spoke love to her because that's where she was loving.
Right.
And so he spoke her language, and that changed everything.
It changed the entire relationship and friendship with that person. Because I don't think that person actually liked me up until that point. And when I did something for them, it flipped that script. And the only thing I did was something very simple because I saw their love language and I spoke their language to them. So this works for you as husband and wife, works for you as mom and dad. It works for you as an employer or as an employee. It works for you as a business owner. It works for you as a consultant or a coach. It works for you in any way, shape, or form that you need it to work for you. So, anything else?
Nope.
That's it? Yep. A little shorter than normal, but we're close. We usually go 30, 32 minutes, but we're just under.
Work on loving your spouse. It's important, especially not just on Valentine's Day, but all through the year. Work on loving your spouse.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to apply your energy towards.
Yeah. Take the extra couple of minutes we left you at the end of this and go do something with it with your spouse.
Yes.
Have fun. Love's still in the air. It's still February. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great week. So check out the outro. Don't just shut us off because we quit talking. Listen to the things that our spokesperson is saying to you, and be sure to check out our sponsors' website and do that. We appreciate them sponsoring the podcast and anywhere and everywhere that you can see them. And of course, like, subscribe, and share here on YouTube with the videos. All right, guys, that's it for now. We will talk to you soon. Love you all. Praying for you. Have a great love month. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.